Imagine that one day you experience a sudden loss of control over the movement in your legs and collapse. Worried, you rush to see a doctor. Following long days of many scans and tests, you're told that your results are normal and that your paralysis is a result of your mind not communicating with your body. This can be the reality of many who live with functional neurological disorder, also known as FND. Let's talk about that. Functional neurological disorder presents as 3 subtypes, which can exist on their own or in combination. Motor FND, affecting movements like paralysis or spasticity. Sensory FND, affecting sensations like vision, hearing, or pain. Or seizure FND, resulting in seizures without the brain activity classified as epileptic. FND can happen at any time in your life, but is the second most common neurological disorder in kids. Yet FND is all too often left out of the conversation. There is a lot of stigma and misinformation around FND, even within the scientific community. Scientists can't even agree on a standardized name. You'll hear conversion disorder, somatization, functional somatic symptoms. Maybe you're here because you have someone in your life living with FND. Or maybe you're just here to learn more. Either way, it's probably easy to see how confusing and frustrating it might be to experience such debilitating symptoms and be told that they are a product of the mind and not something physical. But can that really be true if our minds come from our brains? Does the brain not count as a part of our body? Let's unpack that. First, how exactly do we define the mind versus the body? Well, you can't really dissociate the two. The brain and spinal cord are our central nervous system, and of course, part of our body. As is the peripheral nervous system, which carries all signals to and from the CNS. Everything we do, feel, and experience is a result of an interplay between these systems. Imagine you want to move. A signal from the brain goes to your muscles, and now you can walk, for example. Now imagine the many sensory inputs that travel from your body to the brain. This is how you can perceive and become aware of the world around you. Pain and stress can interfere with these systems. For instance, you might experience sweaty and shaking hands when nervous, even if you want them to be still. Or your face might uncontrollably flush and feel hot when you're frustrated. These responses are all a result of the body's stress system. While stress can be helpful to focus our attention and energy, when it's out of control, the hyperactivity of the stress system can lead to a whole host of problems. It looks like in FND, the body's stress response is hyperactive and disrupts typical motor and sensory signaling more than it should. It all starts with the HPA system, and this might just be at the core of understanding FND. HPA stands for hypothalamic, pituitary, adrenal axis. This is where all the stress hormones and relevant signaling molecules are made and regulated. Cortisol is the key stress hormone, and its release will be regulated in this system. But how do we adapt to stress? Well, these hormones will influence how we remember things and lead to short and long-term changes in the brain and body to help us better cope with future stress. The hypothalamus in your brain is the key regulator of keeping things in balance and reacting to changes so that you can get back to your Zen mode quickly. Now imagine you're in an unexpected, stressful situation. The hypothalamus has your back and will mobilize resources so that you can be alert and energized to deal with this situation. It sends a signal to its neighbor, the pituitary, and tells it to activate. The pituitary then signals to the adrenal cortex, all the way in your abdomen next to your kidneys. From there, stress hormones are released that will affect your entire body, like cortisol, for example. Now, the stress response has all sorts of effects in your body. Increased heart rate, changes to metabolism. Overall, you'll be more alert. To close this feedback loop, the messengers also circulate back to the brain to communicate with the hypothalamus and pituitary to modulate further release. There's a lot of crosstalk. The HPA axis isn't working alone when it comes to a complex system like stress. Let's dive deep into the brain. Our fear center, the amygdala, is constantly watching out for us and assessing situations. It can put the gas on the stress system. Our more analytical brain, the frontal cortex, can reason and evaluate the situation based on things like experience, and it can put a brake on the system. In a typical stress response, the HPA axis will activate and then successfully regulate itself and stop. This balance allows the body to adapt and reset quickly. Energy is shunted towards essential organs like the heart and lungs to speed them up, and towards your muscles so that you can run if needed. And then the system returns to a resting state. In FND, this balance is disrupted. Imaging studies have confirmed this. It looks like in FND, the communication between the HPA axis, the frontal lobe, and the amygdala is disrupted. The system can't effectively regulate itself anymore. There is no balance, and the normal set point is shifted towards hyperactivity. Whew. Now, this hyperactivity has profound effects on the entire body. The communication between the CNS and the PNS is disrupted. Now, instead of those sweaty and shaking hands, the motor response to this constant high stress can lead to paralysis. Feeling stressed can lead to pain symptoms, and the overwhelm of stress can lead to seizure-like symptoms. On top of this, the typical signs of stress like an increased heart rate or those sweaty hands can still happen. And because the system is completely deregulated, patients with FND experience a higher baseline heart rate and can't bring that back to normal, even when relaxed. The severity of these effects on our vital organs is directly correlated with the severity of FND symptoms, especially for seizures. The symptoms of FND are severe and scary. The root cause is linked to how our body reacts to stress. Stress is not experienced in the mind alone. It is a whole body experience. And in those dealing with FND, that whole body experience is a lot more severe. So, while it all comes down to the communication between the brain and the body, those two aren't separate. There is no mind without the body, and our body reflects our state of mind.